Hello, hello. It's JJ Conway. I just want to say hello and welcome you all to our Thursday night lesson. As some of you might remember, in 2022, we're going to change the format of the Thursdays. So this would be the third Thursday. So if this was next month, we'd be doing a real estate lesson today, but it is not next year yet. So we are going to our this week and next week, we're going to finish out our countdown to your best year ever pre-recordings. So a couple of announcements to make, and if you can hear me all right, give me some likes or loves or a comment or something. Say hi, wave me a wave, something so that I know that you can hear me just fine. I've dropped some announcements in the comment section. I just want to let everybody know that call for speakers for Healing My Sisters has gone out. You can there's the link is in the comments. There's also a call for speakers for the Women Building Wealth Together conference that will be in May. I've already had 2 rounds of speaker auditions, and we are going to have a phenomenal conference, y'all. It's going to be amazing. We're going to be looking at in both conferences, we're going to be looking at the things that hold us back and that keep us from progressing the way that we should. My faith, my scripture, my holy writings, my Savior tells me that He came that I might have life and that more abundantly. But most of us who are called by His name, we are not walking in that. One of my missions is to equip God's people to walk in every ounce of the abundance that He has called us to. And so today, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about 2 of our power principles. Let me just make sure I covered all of the announcements. Yes, we have oh if you want to get the full version of what I'm teaching tonight, you can go to jjclink.com/countdown. In fact, I should probably put that up as a banner. You can go to jjclink.com/countdown, and you will enroll for the actual lesson drops that are going to come. It's going to start Monday the 20th of December, and every day you're going to get a little journal entry, and you're going to get a teaching, and it's just every day is going to be powerful. It's going to set you up for your best year ever, and I'm excited about the new format because it's different than how we've done it in the past. All right, that is really big down there. Let me see if I can make that a scroll so it's not so big. Let's try that. Let's try that. Oh, yeah, I like that better. Okay, maybe I'm just vain, right? I'm just glad I can fit back into this back into this hoodie again. Okay. All right. So today, let me get myself back together. All right. So I want to welcome you to our power principle today. I'm JJ Conway, and in this lesson, we're going to explore the necessity of having courage as the 6th power principle on the path of achieving our life's purpose. Here's a great quote that I absolutely love. It says, "Life is not about waiting for the storms to pass. It's about learning how to dance in the rain." I love this quote, and if you've ever been to my house, you may have seen it hanging up on my wall. I like it because it reflects the purpose-driven courage that we need to achieve our vision and fulfill our life's purpose regardless of our circumstances. The word courage is actually derived from the old French word courage, 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 maybe. I'm not a French speaker. I should get my husband in on this. But it's derived from the French word that is written the same, whose Latin origin, cor, means heart and spirit. And it resides within. And although most of our study of courage comes from historical and political figures, there is an abundance of courage in everyday life that we should recognize and appreciate. These would include people who stand up for their principles or values, volunteer for the difficult assignment at work, start a new business in their neighborhood. All these major accomplishments that we see were daring at first. It took courage to stand against the popular opinion of the majority and say, "Here I stand, for I can do none other." anything of consequence, politically, economically, even in our family, in our ministry, any major transformation in government, corporations, big decisions that go against popular opinion require this principle of courage. In our own lives, long-term, long-term personal transformation. Let me say that again. My I forgot to turn my alarm off. I snoozed it instead of turn it off. Let me say that again. Excuse me. So, in our own lives, long term personal transformation also requires the courage to face our fears, anxieties, and to move ahead outside of our comfort zone and our safety net. It is often easier to understand courage in that political and physical realm of our lives, but we also need to be aware of how courage exists primarily in the realm of morals, emotions, and personal actions. Courage is an essential power principle for living the life you deserve. It really isn't optional. Although most dictionaries will list bravery as a synonym of courage, I believe there is a difference. I once heard somebody describe it like this: bravery is for those who conquer someone or something, courage is for those who conquer their own fears. I like that distinction. We can witness bravery in the extraordinary actions of firefighters and emergency medical personnel. Certainly, our police officers, they exhibit such acts of bravery every day. But courage is not about overcoming the external forces that act upon others, but about overcoming the internal forces that act upon ourselves. Therefore, our power principle definition of courage is about the quality of mind or spirit that enables a person to difficulty, danger, pain, and other changes, including their ability to do what must be done in spite of their internal resistance of fear. In this light, courage has very little to do with a macho mindset, and it has everything to do with humbleness of spirit. It involves tapping into the valor and the core strength needed when you're committed to following your vision and life purpose, believing that it comes from your higher power. Confucius said to see what is right and not to do it is want of courage. And in this case, the Old English translation of Confucius, want means lacking. So the Bible words it more strongly. Not doing what you should do or doing what you know you shouldn't do is sin. Ooh, trusting your source of power will provide you with the humble yet steadfast courage to do the right thing. All right, that is getting on my nerves there. Let me turn that off. All right, hang on. I'm going to get something prepped up for you as we talk about courage. All right. Just as courage is different from bravery, it is also different from confidence. No matter how much confidence a person has, it still requires courage to act. Confidence can help you get started on your vision, but it's courage that will see you all the way through. We can take heart, however, that as with the other power principles, courage can be developed, right? So it's something that we can start by anticipating the obstacles that we will face and creating the fortitude within ourselves to overcome them. In fact, the greatest obstacles that we will face also our greatest master teacher. It's our own fear, and it is the fertile soil upon which we can sow courage. The quote that I wanted to share with you, some of you may remember when this used to hang on my wall. Life begins at the end of our comfort zone. No one has ever developed courage by avoiding fear or avoiding unpleasant circumstances. Therefore, if you want to become courageous, you can't shirk from situations that trigger your fears, whether they're physical or mental. Now, of course, we're not looking for fear, right? Like we're not searching for it. We're not making it welcome. We're not trying to find it. It comes to us. But if one thing is certain, it's that the path that's leading to your vision, your goals, your life purpose, they're going to be full with moments and experiences that trigger and awaken your greatest fears. Courage becomes really the willingness to act in spite of all your fears and reservations. Let me just check our comments here. All right. It is never the absence of fear, because fear is always going to be a major player in our lives. And a lot of times we search and seek to eliminate fear. It's kind of like stress. We seek, a lot of things esteem this whole idea of being stress free, but some stress is actually a good motivator. And fear is always going to be a major player, because it's the fear that shows us where the boundaries are. It's the fear that shows us where the boundaries of our comfort zones are. And so it's not the absence of fear that we're seeking for. Okay, we make fear a minor player in our lives instead of a major player in our lives, by the willingness to feel the courage and act in spite of the fear. And this is where really all of our growth comes from. In fact, if I might just take a little side journey off of this topic of courage, because I think it takes courage to do this, a great many of life's problems will dissipate in our lives if we allow ourselves to feel the negative feeling, the hurtful feeling, the painful feeling. In fact, the fearful feeling. And if we will not hide from it, if we will not run from it, but if we will understand that it has a role in our life, and then we will be able to feel the courage and act despite those feelings. We honor it, we give it presence, but then we roll on. See, if we allow ourselves to surrender to fear, then what we're really doing is we're allowing the circumstances and fear to master our lives. And now we're living a fear-driven life. If we act in spite of our fears, then we are living a faith-driven life, which allows us to be willing to risk failure and disappointment, or fall flat on our face and make some mistakes. Now, I read something once that Fred Smith, the CEO, actually, I don't know if he still is the CEO of FedEx, wrote. He said, if you have made any major mistakes in your life by age 35, then you haven't done anything with your life. Woo! How about that, huh? I think most people think that to allow fear, failure, and defeat is what we should do, and that we should allow failure and defeat to hold us back, because that's the way our education system has really conditioned us. That's the way most of our corporations have really conditioned us. We all say, take risks, think outside the box. But guess who gets punished? The people that take risks and think outside the box. And in this culture of this cultural conditioning, failure is punishment, and daring and risk taking really is discouraged. So courage allows you to make it okay to live beyond the good opinions of others. It allows you to be willing to lay it all on the line. The critical point with this now that you have to master is that we face the fear on the road to our vision. Make no mistake, you will always encounter fears in your life. Whether you wander aimlessly or move in the direction of your vision, you're gonna face fear. One path takes you nowhere, but the other will transform your life. So now let's look at some of the ways that fear shows up. And I mean, there's a million different ways, right? Like, I don't even think we can count the ways. But I think one of the biggest ways that fear shows up, what do you think I'm going to say? What do you think I'm going to say? Procrastination. Procrastination is one of fear's greatest allies, putting things off, being too busy, and not being willing to take on any new task. The dishonesty that arises from not being authentic to your true selves, true values, or from being unwilling to express what you need, that's another form of fear. Do you see how this is beginning to show up in our lives? Some of us have been allowing fear, and I'm going to say us. This is not a royal we here. I'm including myself in this. I discovered. How many of you remember when we did the? I think it was like the fifth or sixth Building Wealth Together building what and we had Lori Clark come in and do the flowers. And she did the flower therapy. And I discovered that I was afraid. I was afraid to ruin my flowers by poking stems through other stems. And so, you can be a very bold, confident, outspoken person like this gal right here, but you can still be allowing fear to control your life. So we said that procrastination is one way that fear shows up. That's one way we know that we're operating in fear. Another way is when we're not being authentic. We're being inauthentic to our true values. We're not being willing to express what we need. That's another form of fear. You see, courage is to honesty what carbon is to steel. Honesty is built on the foundation of courage, and in the absence of courage, honesty will falter. Fear looks closer than just our own shadow. And unfortunately, we have the ability to avoid it, ignore it, and continue our life under a subtle yet uneasy pretense that fear is held at bay. And so, what I'm challenging you today is rather than live with this pretense, we must be prepared to face the fears that will inevitably come if we want to move forward in our life. So, one way to develop the fortitude to face your fear is by doing what you're doing right now. Woohoo! That's right. Being on through the studies, right? Study, learning, understanding. These are the ways that we can expand our awareness of our potential and create knowledge of a higher truth than the limiting beliefs that our fears are based on. So, in effect, what we're doing is we're creating courage through understanding just by spending this time with me tonight. Now we know that ignorance breeds fear, and we're uncomfortable and we're afraid of things or people which are unfamiliar or we don't understand. I mean, that's a fair statement, right? Studying and learning the power principles will help fortify your courage through increased awareness and understanding. Listen, everybody's got fears. Your fears may have developed from a past experience, especially if it was one of those where someone with power or authority over you said some negative things about your performance or your future. Okay. Your willingness to stand your ground and take the heat and the pressure is the essence of courage. We all have the capability to do that, but a majority of people, and I know I remember a time where I fell in this category, y'all. The majority of people are followers. They are thermometers that react to the outside temperature. We need to be the thermostat that sets the temperature. We need to raise the bar. Operate from the thinking that Henry David Thoreau said, don't go where the path may lead, go where there is no path and leave a trail. It is about leaving a trail. It is about creating a new path, a new vision for your life. I personally believe that risk or calculated courage is an essential element to success. I don't know of any successful person who does not take calculated risks. Courage and risk taking not only necessary for achieving success, but is necessary for sustaining success. Courage allows you to act in the face of doubts and fears. It's the ability to go into any situation and show up authentically, express yourself from the heart, and it allow you to show up joyfully in full self-expression. That's something that's really missing from a lot of our lives. A lot of us, we walk the walk, we talk the talk, we check the blocks, and on paper, we're doing everything that we should do, but we are inauthentic when it comes to our self expression because we don't ever feel that we can show up in full self expression. And I'm not saying be rude, I'm not saying impede on anybody else's rights. But some of us, if I asked you where you wanted to go out to eat tomorrow night, you wouldn't be able to tell me. You would be trying to figure out what I wanted. Some of us, we don't know what we want out of our business, out of our job, out of our career, out of our family, out of anything that we're spending our time and energy in because we haven't allowed ourselves to be authentic to ourselves. Because in order to be authentic to ourselves, now we have to face the fear that what we want conflicts with what everybody else wants, or what everybody else wants from us, and what everybody else wants for us. Oh, I'm telling you, I'm saying a word today. This is something to chew on and to pray on, y'all. I don't want you to be timid now. I want you to think. I want you to go through this exercise with me real quick. I want you to think of a goal right now that's going to move you towards your vision. Something you must work for, but that you really, really want. Now, resolve to get it. We've got what? We've got what? What's today? Today's the 15th. We got 16 days left in 2021. What do you want to have accomplished that you have not accomplished yet by the end of the year? What do you want? What do you want? I'm going to say this again. Don't be timid as you think of a goal right now that will move you towards your vision. It needs to be something that you will work for and something that you really, really want. Okay? So now you want to resolve to get it. And taking the first action in direction of this goal is simple as taking a moment to write it down. So I encourage you to do that now. Write down your goal, something that you really want, something that is realistic at this point in your journey, but something that you must strive for to achieve. And as you write it, say aloud, I want, and fill in the blank of your life. Okay. Now I'm going to take a quick pause and give you an opportunity to write that down. And if you're like, hey, I wasn't prepared to take notes, okay, find a scrap piece of paper and go ahead and walk through this with me. I promise you don't need a whole lot of paper, because whatever we're talking about right now, it is not a long, drawn out 5 sentence goal. It is a quick hit goal. What is it that you want? All right. What do you really want? What is something you want that will move you toward your internal and external vision at this point in your life? Just commit to taking that next action step towards reaching your goal. I'm absolutely convinced that in any goal achievement process, everybody knows at least what their next step is. Even if that next step isn't monumental, even if that next step isn't going to lead to a quantum leap, it is still what you need to do to get there eventually. What happens to a lot of us is we're so busy looking for the next big thing, the next big button, the next big move, the big power play, that we're not even allowing ourselves to tap into what is that one next step. So what is that one next step that you need? Write down, write down what that action will be by completing the following sentence. My first action towards reaching my goal will be, and then you fill in the blank of your life. What is your first action going to be? Now, as you think about your first action step, do you notice any discomfort, maybe resistance arising in you? Can you see how immediately, subtly fear can appear? You may resist taking your action step, not because you're too busy, not because you have other things to do, not because you know you can take care of it at another time. You might resist it because of fear. Maybe fear has crept into your present reality and you know it won't be able to take this action, even if it leads you towards something you really want. Many times when I was looking at these exercises, when I was a student, when I'm still a student, I'm still on my journey, my path, right? I thought about things, but I never took the time to, no kidding, write it down and fill in the blank. I want to encourage you to write it down. Writing down engages both sides of your brain. It is a cross midline activity that reinforces what you want more than just thinking about it, more than just typing about it. Okay. So write down what you want, write down the first step. Don't do like I did and say, oh, I got it, I got it, I got it. That was my way of procrastination. And you know what my life showed? My life showed that I didn't got it. Because if I'd have got it, then I would get it. But instead, what I had was the manifestation of fear in my life that showed up as procrastination, that showed up as super, super busy work, but getting nothing done. Oh, I know somebody else feels that tonight. All right. So now, again, if you haven't taken the time to do this, I encourage you to do it. What is a goal that you really want, and what will be your first action step towards that goal. As you continue to grow your courage, remember that few things worthwhile in life are easy, and it is the discomfort that causes us to grow. The words growing pains really are true. You're going to face countless situations that will stir your fear, and you're going to recognize them because they will make you what? What? They will make you uncomfortable. And guess what we want to naturally do? We want to procrastinate or be dishonest with ourselves or dishonest with others or even dishonest with our own intentions. Oh my goodness, how many times have we gone through the motions and we're not even admitting to ourselves what it is we're really doing? Observe yourself reacting to the fear that comes, but distance yourself from its emotions. Simply take note of the feelings when they arise and what precipitated them. Was it a new opportunity? Was it a challenge, a difficulty, maybe a conflict? Maybe it is a risk you need to take. Identify your fears the moment they arise. You know, another thing that John Maxwell said, in addition to life begins at the end of your comfort zone, is to shovel while the pile is small. Begin to consciously take note of the circumstances that spark fear in you and address them while that pile is small. This will give you insights into your own resistance, which you can then begin to honestly explore. So now returning then to the first power principle of honesty that can help you build this level of self-awareness. We must be vigilant regarding the internal state that we're in. As you begin to waver in facing challenges, you must hold true to your core and always remember the detailed vision of your dream. Nurture that vision. Draw upon the vast resources of your being, of your vision, of the you and the life that you have always longed for. A well-known author and photographer, Matthew Ricard, wrote it this way. He said, "It's not the magnitude of the task that matters. It's the magnitude of our courage." So be courageous as you go and grow forward. It'll make all the difference in achieving success. I want to thank you for joining me on this power principle on courage. This has been JJ Conway, and as always, I want to encourage you to choose abundance daily. Now, if you joined me in the middle of this teaching, let me let you know that these lessons are excerpts from Countdown to Your Best Year Ever. And I encourage you to sign up for the class at jjclink.com. You may need to click the HTTPS there, jjclink.com/countdown. I'm going to show it here real quick. There we go. jjclink.com/countdown. So the actual countdown, there's content in there right now, but the actual countdown will begin Monday, 20 December. And each day you're going to get a reflection and a teaching to help you ring in the new year with style and success. Oh, I'm excited, y'all. I'm always excited for these things. And you know, I don't just do these things to help you grow. I do them to help me grow. I had the choice of doing the same countdown to your best year ever that we did last year, but I knew I wanted to grow. And so I wanted to put together this content for you so that we are all growing together. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk about another power principle, and you are welcome to jump into the conversation as you see fit, simply by including your comments below. Let me take that banner down. Hello and welcome. I'm JJ Conway, and in this lesson, I'm going to talk about power principle number 7, the role intuition plays in a successful and rewarding life. Now, you know, our intuition is without question one of the most powerful resources available to us. And when we use it correctly, it can magnify the benefits we receive from applying all of the other power principles. Intuition is something that I think we've all had experience with. And I know intuition has made a significant difference in my life, in every area of my life. But I also know that although we can see its results, we often have a difficult time understanding where it comes from or how to apply it to achieving our broader vision in life's purpose. So part of this confusion is realizing that we're really dealing with two types of intuition. Wayne Dwyer, a phenomenal teacher, once said, if prayer is you talking to God, then intuition is God talking to you. That's really the first type of intuition. It's a spiritual intuition, and it comes from a deep connection with God and the universe. It is a powerful way for us to understand the essence of our thoughts and our beliefs. So, for example, out of the blue, other day I was thinking of my friend Debbie in Korea, and then despite the 14-hour time difference, my phone rings and it's her through WhatsApp, right? Maybe you've had where a loved one pops on the screen of your mind and you see their face, and then you learn sometime later that there was a challenge that they were facing right at that time. See, our second type of intuition is more of a basis in experience or realistic knowledge. But that type of intuition might be, well, I lost my phone, and later I've gotten a hunch where it is, totally unexpected location, and boom, it's exactly where I find it, right? And you may have had similar experiences. And today, our lives are so much more complex than they ever were. We have access to unlimited data through the internet. We're overwhelmed with choices as consumers. We're in the midst of this global economy, and we can communicate with anyone, anywhere, anytime. By now, in this Power Principle series, we have become fully aware of how the world's distractions can divert us from achieving our vision and our life's purpose. And for this reason alone, understanding and honing your intuition, both the spiritual and the experiential type, is essential for sound decision making. As a power principle, your intuitive faculty must be unleashed so that it can help illuminate your journey. The power of learning to trust your intuition will help you identify potential pitfalls before they can harm you or hold you back from achieving your full potential. It can also bring people into your life that can help unfold your vision and open your field of awareness of opportunities. Now, intuition allows you to see possibilities, and it also helps you to effectively choose the options that will most quickly turn those possibilities into realities. Now, I've worked with people all over the world who want to develop their own intuitive abilities, and one of the mistakes they make is feeling like they have to force their mind to do the work in a proactive way. It's like believing that they almost have to make it happen. Now, I'm telling you, true intuition is a neutral perspective. And I kind of feel like it can be perceived only when we allow ourselves to just be and not by projecting our own agenda into the world. In fact, I find in my life when I'm in a tizzy and I just don't know which way to go, and I should be praying, but I'm not, I find that when I really take the time to stop and be still with the Lord and open up and make welcome His leading and guidance in my life, that's when my intuition begins to kick into play, my spiritual intuition. Intuition is the ability to reference the subtle sensory information that we're gaining. So now I'm moving from talking about the spiritual intuition to now talking about the experiential intuition, okay? So what is outside our conscious perception? It's out there. Our brains are taking in, our subconscious is taking in all of these millions of pieces of information that we are not even consciously actively aware of. And so intuition, the experiential intuition, is our knowledge without direct sensory experience. And as a result, a path, a direction always proceeds from this perspective. So learning to recognize and trust that voice from within, it may feel uncomfortable at first because it's unfamiliar, but as you learn more about and embrace your intuitive capacity, you will realize that this is not hocus pocus. This is not some new age mumbo jumbo. All right. Intuition stems from your higher self and has been made available to you for your life's benefit. Now, to understand how to take advantage of the benefits of this power principle, let's examine these two: the experiential intuition and the spiritual intuition. Experiential. I know I'm tired, so I think I maybe kind of going over my words, right? It's been a long day preparing for the for the playoff game, right? We're talking about experiential intuition and spiritual intuition. All right, let's take a look at those more closely. Experiential intuition stems from our collective life experiences and knowledge. And the simplest way to kind of understand this type of intuition is to think of it as learned recognition. Your subconscious mind over time develops connections between your new situation and events and experiences from your past. These connections are helpful for decision making, interpretation, processing, and they allow you to make these decisions and process things when you're faced with incomplete or imperfect information. And in psychology, apparently they call hierarchies. The connections are like the rungs of a ladder, which your brain creates as a helpful tool for you. You automatically access those rungs to get to the right answer in any given situation. It's likely you would not even be able to articulate the elements of the connection nor the rungs of the ladder, but they are nevertheless very real. And this type of intuition comes as an inner voice, but really it is a well thought out process of your subconscious to respond to a particular type of problem or circumstance. And it is something that is meant to be accessed over and over again. So the thing happens, your brain forms the pathways, and the next time the thing happens, your brain already has some pathways. Okay. So I think all of us have probably walked into a party or been to a business meeting or gathering, and we can sense immediately when something isn't right. Or we understand with a situation or even with a person. As like you feel it, you feel the energy, you feel a vibe, right? When using these areas of knowledge that we have sharpened over the years, we can perceive important cues without even consciously knowing why. And these are imperceptible to most people. And so, there's a show I don't watch because I'm not big into music, but there's a show, American Idol, and even if you don't watch the show, the guy Simon, who's just he's got experiential intuitive skills regarding talent, so he can make a very quick decision about the people's potential success, even if he can't always articulate his viewpoint in a very friendly way. Let's say it like that. All right. In the best selling book Blink by Malcolm Gladwell, there are a number of fascinating examples of adaptive subconscious or experiential intuition, like the insurance adjuster who can quickly identify a counterfeit statute, or a woman who has an uncanny ability to identify a successful new cookie recipe. Now, that's actually not a bad gig, right? But our subconscious mind over time develops these connections between your situations, opportunities, events, and experiences of the past. And these connections are helpful for decision making and processing when we're faced with incomplete or imperfect information, like I was saying earlier. And you can't even articulate all these connections, but they're real and they're there. Okay. And so that's one type of intuition. The second, and I believe more profound type of intuition involves practice, but not for gaining experiential knowledge, but for gaining trust. It is a trust of your spiritual power and trust in the power that I define as God. Others might have other names. Some people like to say infinite intelligence, spirit, or creative power. I like to be very clear about who and what I'm talking about. So it's an understanding, an awareness, a trust, and our connection to that higher power and to all things through which we receive it. And for me, I want to be very, very clear who I serve. All right. And so this spiritual type of intuition is already part of your being. It's already there. And we talked a little bit about it earlier. It's part of how you know who's calling before you look at the phone. It's how, learning of a faraway loved one just as the thought pops into your mind, and then you find out that they really do need you, right? God has allowed us this power to tap into or resonate with spiritual energy. And since all matter really is energy, and I don't want to get metaphysics, and I don't want to get off in the way that many people who teach these kinds of things get off. But but we are connected in ways that only God understands, yet we experience these small and profound inklings or hunches. These are instances of knowing without knowing, and they serve as proof that there is a quality within us that is connected spiritually that can be trusted. It extends beyond your five physical senses within the nuance of the vibration from others, no matter where they are in the universe. Now that's one explanation that I've heard. I don't claim to understand exactly all the science and everything about it, but if you have ever looked at the work of Dr. Bruce Lipton, a physicist who's come to know the Lord, you will find some very, very interesting examples of things that come in alignment with energy, even if they're not connected to one another. It's absolutely fascinating. And the only way that I can explain it is God has laws that man doesn't even know about yet. But when one of those laws allows us to be connected, and so like a muscle, using this type of intuition can be developed through the repetition of conscious and deliberate use. And so I remember early in my spiritual walk, I was surprised when my bishop said that the gift of discernment and the sharpening of intuition was really the gift of observation and experience. It's vital that we in our life for several reasons. First, it can give you an obvious advantage by acting as a shortcut in your decision making. I have found that to be true. And actually, it has given me, knowing that I have this intuition, knowing that I have this connection with God, has actually increased my confidence in decision making because I know that I'm leaning upon the Spirit and the Spirit is leaning and guiding, showing me the way. Intuitive, spiritually connected, experientially intuitive decisions. They more often right than based on my human emotions. And if you don't know that, now you do. And our human logic, which sometimes is missing so much or is colored by past programming. So intuition provides an alternate source of power. It offers us more information, data by which to make decisions, and it allows us to make decisions more quickly and, more importantly, with more confidence than ever before. Okay? Examples and Blink or the guy on American Idol, you will just know what's good. You'll know what's right and true for you. All you have to do is trust that choice. Secondly, intuition allows you to more fully experience your oneness with God and life's purpose that's yearning to be expressed through you. So, like an author, through whom the words and the structure of a book, they just pour out on the page quickly, that work may go out to touch millions over decades. This creative energy and truth lies beyond our logical knowing or the appearance of our conditions and circumstances. And in a sense, it really is true power. So now you would like to get more in touch with your intuitive powers. Well, there's several ways that you can approach it. Okay. A first step would be to hone your experiential intuition by studying and learning all you can about the areas of your life's purpose and goals. Now there's a saying, and you might have heard this: preparation plus was luck, right? Some people call that an overnight success. And I think it's funny because people seem to fail to see that somebody studied long hours, they labored, they sacrificed to achieve his or her goals. And from the outside looking in, it's like, oh, you were an overnight success. Yeah, I was an overnight success over 20 years, right? But doing this builds the hierarchy. It's the rungs of the ladder that we talked about earlier. And you never know when the new learning will come in handy. So that's step one. Step two is to also work on trusting your more profound and spiritual intuition and to really open up your heart and mind to God's presence and learn to trust Him completely. Recently, in my Real Success Mentorship program, I was teaching a lesson on intuition, and I said that most of us will reach out and ask God for help or guidance or a sign that we're on the right path, right? I think all of us have done that at some point in our life. And then we're driving down the road of life and we have one of these experiences where boop, an idea just pops into our mind, right? And instead of embracing that thought, instead of embracing that idea, what do? We question it. We question the source. We're like, are you sure? And we kind of turn our head to the heavens and we're like, are you sure? Is that God? Is that God? We immediately start to doubt that this guided or spiritual intuition really is for us and to be used through us, right? And we begin to ask all the wrong questions. Anybody else done this today, or is it just me? We begin to ask if it's a good idea or if it's a bad idea. Should I do this or should I not do this? Is it right or is it wrong? And so, let me tell you something. The problem with these kinds of questions is that they're limiting. Like their very nature is to limit. And the answer to all these questions is it right or wrong, good or bad, should I or shouldn't I, is yes. If we look at it with just our reasoning mind, it has to be just yes, because that's the expression of the law of polarity. The law of polarity, the law of opposites tells us that, for instance, every problem has a solution. For every up, there's a down. For every left, there's a right. Okay. And so for every good, there's a bad. Is it big or small? Yes, it is big. And at the same time, it is small. It's just the matter of what you're comparing it to, the matter of what you're asking this about. Okay. So when we've asked God and the creative power of his spirit to step into our lives and guide us, and we are intuitively given the answer, remember what Wayne Dwyer said. He said, if prayer is you talking to God, your intuition is when God is answering you. So why are we questioning it? The law of opposites tells us that there are probably valid reasons why we should and valid reasons why we shouldn't, why we could and why we couldn't, right? And I think it was Socrates that said the quality of the questions we ask will ultimately determine the quality of the answers we get in our lives. So here's my suggestion in step 2 as we begin to develop trust in this profound spiritual intuition. When we open our hearts and minds to its presence and we learn to trust Him completely, when we're gifted with an intuitive insight, we can take the next step in our life and not ask the right or wrong or good or bad or should I or shouldn't I type of question. Instead, let's ask this. If I act on this idea, will it move me closer to the dream that I say I want in my life? Will this idea move me closer to co-creating the mental model of perfection that I say I want in my life? It's so simple, isn't it? And yet our years of conditioning and formal education make it hard for people to accept. I mean, we fervently pray to God for guidance, and then we ignore every sign, every idea, every resource that could help that He sends our way. We ignore those signs around us. We ignore our own gut instincts and hunches. Ooh, don't we do that? And then we wonder what happened. We wonder why God wasn't with us, or we begin to doubt or get frustrated. I want to urge you to open up your mind and your heart and begin to trust your intuitive source and begin to ask more powerful questions when you're guided. Just as with intuition, based on building a real world knowledge, you build your spiritual trust day by day, month by month, with one application after the other, one experience on after the other, precept upon precept, line upon line. Now we should expect some fear and uncertainty at first, okay? But have confidence and trust that God is in charge. And once we're free from the uncertainty and self-doubt, then we begin to operate on a completely different level of awareness. And what will happen is that over time, you will become free from the habitual conditioning and programmed thinking. It takes time and it takes energy and it takes effort. And remember, it's your willingness to shift your plane of awareness that's the precursor to every major change in your life. I should just post it up here. Life begins at the end of your comfort zone. And it's not an overnight thing, it's daily practice. And it's a very important decision that we make, it's really the first decision we got to make to improve our intuition, is that we're going to make the decision to unleash that spiritual intuitive factor. You might first start by testing yourself in a very, very simple way. I just love the comments today. I just love the comments today. This is so much fun. You might start by first testing yourself in a simple way. So the next time, here's a simple thing that you can do, okay? The next time you think of somebody suddenly that you haven't seen or heard from in a long time, okay? I want you to write it down. Write down the day and time that they came to your mind, okay? And then I want you to call them, email them, text them, WhatsApp them, Snapchat them as soon as you can. Let them know that you were thinking of them at that particular time and place, and see if that impression holds any significance or meaning. You will be surprised. You will really be surprised. So likewise, the next time you get a hunch, follow it and see what happens. I believe that by doing so, you'll begin to see the outcomes, the results, the manifestations that are new, different, and welcomed. And you'll begin to trust your intuitive power. And more importantly, you'll begin to trust that God is on your side. You'll begin to become aware of your oneness with God. And as I said before, this is not hocus pocus, all right? This is not hocus pocus. Then it might seem a little bit like magic to those who haven't studied this stuff, and it might seem a little bit of woo-woo to people who do walk in the spirit, okay? I promise you that that's not what we're talking about here. There are a lot of people who teach these principles, and they really do come from less than biblical processes. I'll leave it like that, okay? But if you will open your mind, if you will open your heart to this power that you've been given, then you will begin to see opportunities around you that you were never aware of before. Remember that even though it's essential, okay? Even though it's essential to develop and access the power of your intuition, I do want to give you a caution, okay? Intuition is not a substitute for knowledge. If you got the wrong facts, or if you are otherwise unprepared or unlearned, then your intuition can be misinterpreted. Ideally, your intuition or subconscious mind should work in harmony with your analytical or conscious mind to provide a more holistic approach to decision making. I take this concept from scripture that says, when I was a child, I thought as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. Well, when I thought as a child, I thought one way. When I became a man or a woman or a grown up, I think another way. So the intuition of a child, we all have seen children make decisions according to the intuition that they have at the level they have of knowledge they have and the filtering through of their intuition, okay? Doesn't mean that they can't walk according to the spirit. Doesn't mean we can't walk according to the spirit. It just means we may not be as likely to interpret we may not be as likely to interpret the intuition if we are poorly informed. That is why it is so important for us to continue to study and be committed to being a lifelong learner. The result of intuition is a shift in your awareness, your thoughts, your actions, and you'll start to do things differently and think differently and take different actions that aren't actually necessarily in harmony at first with your habitual past. And through this process, you'll be able to develop an inner level of comfort and security, regardless of the challenges that confront you. And soon you'll be able to recognize moments and opportunities that will help you fulfill your life's purpose. Enjoy this power. It's a God-given gift. Well, that is all I have for you in this session. I want to thank you for listening. This has been JJ Conway on Power Principle number 7, Intuition. And I do want to encourage you, as always, choose abundance daily. Now, if you join me in the middle of this, again, I want to encourage you that these lessons are excerpts from our countdown to your best year ever. Let me pop that banner up there for you. Okay. If I encourage you to sign up for the full class, you can do that. The countdown will begin Monday, 20 December, and each day you're going to get a reflection and a teaching like this to help you ring in the new year with style and success. It's going to be a great way to wind down 2021 and look forward into 22. That's all I have for y'all today. If there's no other comments, I'm going to go ahead and go. I'm going to close out with this comment. God is on your side, and be blessed.